To prepare for a brand new installation of Windows 2000, we should first check the hardware compatibility list to determine whether all the hardware devices in the system qualify for Windows 2000. We should verify that all the applications that we intend to use are certified to work with Windows 2000, and check if the system BIOS is ACPI compliant so that we can take full advantage of the power management capabilities. We should also plan which partition on the hard drive will hold the Windows 2000 and what file system we'll use on that partition. If we're going to dual boot with Windows 98, we should use FAT32 for that partition. If we're going to dual boot with DOS or Windows 95, we should use FAT16 for that partition. But we're going to use NTFS on most partitions for the most security. We can also install Windows 2000 through a network. If we're going to install Windows 2000 through a network, we want to consider where the installation files are stored. For example, are they stored on a CD-ROM drive, or are they stored in a file server? Do we want to have automated installation options on our network? If we're going to install through a network, the data that we need to gather prior to the installation would be the computer name, the network name for peer-to-peer network, the username and user password, the host name for the domain network, and for TCP/IP networks, we need to know how the IP address is assigned, whether we're going to get a brand new IP address dynamically assigned, or whether we're going to statically assign an IP address to this computer. When we upgrade from Windows 98 to Windows NT, all applications and data are carried forward to the new environment. This is a serious advantage over upgrading Windows 98 to Windows NT. As you remember, we had to reinstall all applications if we wanted to upgrade from Windows 98 to Windows NT. But upgrading to Windows 2000 is a much easier ordeal because the applications are carried forward to the new environment. Most of the operating system settings carry forward, and installation is faster. When we install Windows 2000, we're really just following the wizard. If the PC is capable of booting from a CD, we insert the CD and we follow the setup wizard. If the PC cannot boot from a CD, then if you have a clean, empty hard drive, we could create a set of Windows 2000 setup disks and boot the PC and begin the installation process. We can also use a Windows 98 startup disk to start a Windows 2000 installation. In other words, we can boot the PC with a Windows 98 startup disk, which would give us the CD-ROM drivers that we need, and then start the Windows 2000 installation at that point. Once we have a good installation, we should back up the system state data. The system state data are files that are critical for the successful loading of an operating system. So this includes the Windows 2000 registry and all of the files in the system root folder. We can back up the system state data using the backup tools that are provided with Windows 2000. To troubleshoot problems, we need to understand the boot process. And we'll talk about the boot process in our next section.